Hello, my name is Chandrasekhar. The Statue of Social Justice, also known as the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Smritivanam, is a 125 feet tall statue located in Vijayawada in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. The memorial dedicated to B.R. Ambedkar, an Indian polymath, statesman, social reformer, and the father of the Indian Constitution. This Ambedkar statue is 125 feet tall and stands on this 81 feet tall base building, making its total height 206 feet. It is the fourth tallest statue in India. Bhim Ramji Ambedkar was a crusader for social justice. Please note the important point. One entry fee is only 5 rupees and parking fee is available in this area. Oh, Bhim Ramji Ambedkar was a crusader for social justice and was the chief architect of India's constitution, which secured social and fundamental legal rights and equality for its citizens. A barrister, economic politician, and reformer, he was the first law and justice minister of independent India. He was commonly known as the champion of the untouchables. The government of Andhra Pradesh decided that the occasion of 125th birthday anniversary of Ambedkar, Ramji Ambedkar information. Bhim Ramji Ambedkar, also known as Baba Saheb Ambedkar, was born on April 14, 1891, at Mau in Madhya Pradesh, India. He was a good student, earning doctorates from both London University and Columbian University of London. He gained a reputation as a scholar for his research in law, economics, and political science. In his early career, he was an editor, economist, professor, and an activist who was against the discrimination Dalits faced because of caste. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's later career included participating in the political activities. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was born in Mau of Madhya Pradesh. His father was Ramji Mukherjee Sakpal, who was an army officer in the British Indian Army. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the 14th son of his father. Bhim Boy Sakpal was his mother. His family was a Marathi background from the town of Ambedwadi. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was born as a Dalit and he was treated as an untouchable. He was subjected to regular social and economic discrimination. Although Ambedkar attended school, he and other Dalit students were treated as untouchables. They were separated from another group of students from other caste and were not given attended by the teachers. They were even not allowed to sit with other students with their own drinking water. He used to drink water with the help of the peon as he and other Dalit students were not allowed to touch anything. His father retired in 1894 and his mother passed away 2 years after they moved to Satara. Of all his brothers and sisters, Ambedkar was the only one who passed his examination and went to his school. Later in high school, a Brahmin teacher changed his surname from Ambedkar, which was given by his father to Ambedkar in records. This shows the level of discrimination that was done on Dalits. That B.R. Ambedkar Education 1897, Ambedkar became the only untouchables to get enrolled at the Elphinstone School High School. In 1906, Ambedkar, who was 15 years old, married a 9-year-old named Ramabai. The marriage was done by the couple's parents as per the rituals. In 1912, he obtained his degree in political science and economics from Bombay University and was employed by the Baroda state government. So the birthday of Bhimrao Ambedkar is on April 14th, was born on that day in Mau. Ambedkar had a difficult time in his childhood because he always faced caste discrimination. He belonged to a Dalit family and Dalits were considered untouchables, a low caste. When Ambedkar was in an army school, he faced discrimination there as well. Due to this, teachers usually made a separate arrangement for low caste students so that they are not mixed with high caste students like Brahmins. Sometimes Ambedkar and other low caste students were even asked to sit outside the classroom by the teachers as they feared it might cause problem if low caste students were mixed with high class students. The problem of caste discrimination didn't end for Ambedkar even when he was enrolled in a local school in Satara. This discrimination seemed to be following him when he came back from America. The King of Baroda appointed him as his defense secretary. Even being in such a high position, he was called untouchables by his upper class officials. Ambedkar's involvement during independence. Ambedkar was involved in a campaigning and negotiation of India's independence. After independence, he became the chairman of the drafting committee of the Indian Constitution. After India's independence, he was the first minister of law and justice and is considered to be the architect of the Constitution of India. In 1956, he converted to Buddhism, resulting in the mass conversion of Dalits. In 1948, Ambedkar suffered from diabetes. After fighting diabetes for almost 7 years, Ambedkar passed away in his sleep on December 6, 1956, at his home. Education of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. In 1908, Ambedkar passed his 10th class from the Elphinstone High School. He graduated from Mumbai University in 1912 and his subjects included political sciences, studies and economics. Ambedkar was an intelligent student and cleared all his exams without much problem. Gaikwad ruler of Siyajirao III was so impressed with him that he gave a scholarship of 20 rupees per 25 rupees per month to Ambedkar. Ambedkar used all that money to continue his studies outside India. He applied for Columbia University in New York to complete his master's degree in economics. He was selected in that university and completed his master's degree in 1915, and this is the time when he gave his thesis called Ancient Indian Commerce. In 1916, he started working on his new thesis, The Problem of the Rupee, its origin and its solution, and this was the time when he applied for the London School of Economics and got selected. In this thesis, he was also helped by Governor Lord Sinhan. In the Sinhan College of Commerce and Economics, he became a political science professor, but they decided to continue his further studies and went to England. He completed his PhD degree in 1927 in economics and was awarded a doctorate by the University of Columbia in the same year. Achievements of Dr. B.O. Ambedkar. Ambedkar played a key role in the formation of the Reserve Bank of India (RBI) in 1935. Back in 1955, he was the first person to propose the partition of Madhya Pradesh and Bihar for better government. He also wanted to make a Sanskrit and the Indian Union official language, and he took part in the Lok Sabha election twice but failed to win the both on both occasions. Waiting for a visa, his autobiography, is used as a textbook at Columbia University. He was opposed to the principle of employment and constituency reservation and didn't want the system to exist at all. He was the first Indian to earn a PhD degree outside of India. Ambedkar was the one who pushed for a reduction in India's working hours from 14 to 8 hours a day. He was a vocal opponent of the Indian Constitution's Article 370, which granted the states of Jammu and Kashmir special status. In 1916, that B.R. Ambedkar worked as the defense secretary for the princely state of Baroda. As he was a Dalit, war was not easy. He was ridiculed by the prince people and often ignored. After continuous caste discrimination, he quit his job as the defense secretary and took up jobs as a private tutor and accountant. He later established a consulting firm, but it failed to flourish. The reason has been that he was a Dalit. He finally got a job as a teacher at the Sidham College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai, as Ambedkar was a victim of caste discrimination. He thrived on uplifting the pitiable state of the untouchables in society. He founded a weekly journal called Muknaik, which enabled him to criticize the beliefs of the Hindus. He was passionate about eradicating the practice of caste discrimination in India, which led him to establish Bhaiskrita Hitakarni Sabha. The main goal of the organization was to provide education to the backward classes. In 1927, he continuously worked against untouchability. He followed the footsteps of Gandhi and led a Satyagraha movement. The untouchables were denied access to the main source of drinking water and entry in temples. He fought for the rights of the untouchables. In 1932, the Pune Pact was formed that allowed reservation from the depressed class in the regional legislative assembly and central council states. In 1935, he founded the Independent Labour Party, which secured 14 seats in the Bombay election. In 1935, he published books such as The Annihilation of Caste, which questioned orthodox Hindu beliefs, and the very next year he published another book by the name Who Were the Sudras, in which he explained how the untouchables were formed. After India's independence, he served on the board of the Defense Advisory Committee and as the Minister for Labor for the Viceroy's Executive Council. His dedication towards the work earned him the chair of India's first law minister. He was the first chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution of India. He also established the Finance Committee of India. It was through his policies a nation progressed both economically and socially. In 1951, the Hindu Code Bill was proposed to him, which he later rejected and resigned from the cabinet. He contested for the seat of Lok Sabha but was defeated. He was later appointed to the Rajya Sabha and remained a member of the Rajya Sabha until his death in 1955. Thoughts and opinions. B.R. Ambedkar was a leading social reformer and an activist who dedicated his entire life to the betterment of the Dalits and other socially backward classes of India. Ambedkar continuously fought for the eradication of caste discrimination that had spread like a disease in Indian society. As he was born in a socially backward family, Ambedkar was a Dalit who was a victim of caste discrimination and inequality. However, against all odds, Ambedkar became the first Dalit to complete higher education. He then went on and completed college and got a doctorate in economics from London University. He entered politics entirely aiming to fight for the rights of the backward classes and against the inequality practiced in society. After India became independent, he went on to become the first law minister of Free India and the chief architect of the Constitution of India. Later in 1956, he converted to Buddhism as the considered to be the most scientific religion. Within 2 months of the conservation anniversary, Ambedkar died of diabetes in 1956. Conclusion: Bhim Ramji Ambedkar, popularly known as Baba Sahib, was a jurist, politician, economist, writer, editor. He was a Dalit. He was a usual subject of caste discrimination. He was not allowed to eat with other caste children or even drink water at school. His story is the best example of determination and showcases how education can change the fortune of anyone. A child who was subject to caste discrimination went on to become a man who was the architect of independent India's constitution. A story is written in heavens, which is the best example of not giving up on yourself even if the odds are against you. Drafting of Indian Constitution. Upon India's independence on 15th August 1947, the new Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru invited Ambedkar to serve as the Dominion of India's Law Minister. 2 weeks later, he was appointed chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution for the future Republic of India. The credit that is given to me does not really belong to me. It belongs partly to Sir B.N. Rao, the Constitution advisor to the Constitution Assembly, who prepared a rough draft of the Constitution for the consideration of the drafting committee. So, Ambedkar, in his including speech in Consultants Assembly, Indian Constitution guarantees and protections for a wide range of civil liberties for individual citizens, including freedom of religion, the abolition of untouchability, and the altering of all forms of discrimination. Ambedkar was one of the ministers who argued for extensive economic and social rights for women and won the Assembly's support for introducing a system of reservations of jobs in the civil services, schools, and colleges for members of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward class, a system akin to affirmative action. India's lawmaking hoped to eradicate the socio-economic inequalities and lack of opportunities for India's depressed classes through these measures. The Constitution was adopted on 26th November 1949 by the Constitutional Assembly. Ambedkar expressed his disapproval for the Constitution in 1953 during a parliament session and said, "People always keep on saying to me, 'Oh, you are the maker of the Constitution.' My answer is, I was a hack. What I was asked to do, I did much against my will." Ambedkar added that, "I am quite prepared to say that I shall be the first person to burn it out. I do not want it. It doesn't not insult anybody." Ambedkar was the first person to pursue a doctorate in economics abroad. He argued that industrialization and agricultural growth could enhance the Indian economy. He stressed investment in agriculture as the primary industry of India. Ambedkar advocated national economic and social development, stressing education, public hygiene, community health, residential facilities as the basic amenities. His DSc thesis, The Problem of the Rupee, Its Origin and Solution, 1923, examines the causes for the rupee's fall in value. In this dissertation, he argued in the favors of the gold standard in modified form and was opposed to the gold exchange student standard favored by Keynes in his treasure, Indian currency and finance. Climate, claiming it was less stable, he favored the stoppage of all further coinage of the rupee and the minting of gold coin, which he believed would fix currency rates and prices. Ambedkar's legacy as a socio-political reformer had a deep effect on modern India. In post-independence India, his socio-political thought is respected across the political spectrum. His initiatives has influenced various speeches of life and transformed the way India today looks at socio-economic policies, education, and affirmative action through socio-economic and legal incentives. His reputation as a scholar led to his appointment as Free India's first law minister and chairman of the committee for drafting the constitution. He passionately believed in Indian individual freedom and criticized caste society. His accusation of Hinduism as being the foundation of the caste system made him controversial and